Poppin' B, Puck here, and welcome back to another episode of Race the Ramen, the show where I attempt to review something unscripted in the amount of time it takes to boil an instant ramen. And today we'll be taking a look at Popeye for Nintendo Switch. Available now on Nintendo Switch. Alright, we're going to start the timer right now. Okay, so Popeye for the Switch. You've probably seen the title, so I can't really hide my feelings on this one. I think that Popeye for the Nintendo Switch, which is a real, officially licensed Popeye video game, based on the comic strip and cartoon series. It's been around since the 1930s. It is a game from 2021 that released exclusively on the Nintendo Switch eShop at an asking price of $12. I got it at a discount for about $3.89, just under $4. And I still really don't think it was worth it. I don't want to come off as too aggressive or hyperbolic, partly because these devs have apparently threatened to sue another YouTuber over being too mean to them before, but this isn't slanderous. This is just a review, man. A review of a video game, of a product being sold, and as such a thing, it's really quite bad and not something I can recommend in good conscience. It's very, very bad, and most of all, it feels very lazy. Popeye for the Switch is essentially a loose reimagining of the arcade game from 1982, which was actually developed by Nintendo R&D 1, and in some other timeline was basically going to be what Donkey Kong turned out to be. It's kind of complicated. But yeah, that game came out, at this point, almost 40 years ago. And this version, which takes a ton of cues from it, a lot of the same objectives, some of the same voice lines, or lines of dialogue, I guess you could say, but we'll get to that in a second. And just all the basic ideas, but it is worse. It is way worse. Even the NES port of the arcade game beats this one out, and I'm not fucking kidding. In terms of graphics, sound, content, more. All of that to the NES version over the Switch version. This is almost 40 years after that landmark title, and this is what we have. No joke, it is 3 stages, which it has been discovered were made, at least in part, with pre-made Unity assets, like entire maps just purchased off of asset stores. There's one music track that loops and loops and loops and does not change. The only time you ever get a change is when you pick up the one power-up, the can of spinach, because Popeye's got to eat spinach, of course, he's Popeye. Anyway, you get the spinach, and then you get to punch the 3 types of enemies there are, because you can punch them without the spinach, but it won't do anything. They'll just punch you into the sky, and then you lose one of your lives. One of your 3 lives that you can't replenish. And the game doesn't really run very well either. There's like frame rate issues and stuff. The controls aren't bad, they're fine, they work. And realistically, if you're just paying attention the whole time, you can probably avoid the enemies, Brutus, Bluto, whatever his name is, pretty efficiently. Because other than those times where he'll just like teleport to a new location because he has to spawn close to you because the game cheats, he walks slower than you at a basic speed, and when you have the spinach, you're even faster, and you can kick his ass, so there's nothing. It's score-driven, it repeats itself forever, like I already said. Even the title screen is made up of, like, stock Popeye art and, like, model reference sheets. It's staggering. It's kind of baffling, and look. The people who published this and maybe worked in the development are the same people that put out that, like, $5-10 calculator app on the Switch, those people. And I don't want to imply anything shady or anything like that. I don't like making insinuations like, oh, this bunch of lazy jerks. But legit, this game is so obviously, demonstrably low effort and bad that it could have and should have just not been released. And I mean that completely honestly. it would have been a net positive if this game never came out, because realistically, it seems like something you could probably put together in a really, really short amount of time, really low amount of effort, and a low amount of money. And while I don't think anyone was expecting anything exceptionally good or even really that noteworthy from a Popeye game, there has been better in the past. And even if there wasn't that precedent with this franchise of Popeye, and it being a cool cartoon with a lot more imagination, games should not be this bad in general. Hopefully that gave you a decent impression of what I think of the game. I actually re-recorded this. I did an entire take of this that I was going to go with this video. Then I realized I wasn't getting all the information quite right, and I was a little too angry. And don't get me wrong, this game is awful. It's shit. I do not think you should buy it. I cannot recommend it. If you're really interested and you're willing to spend the money, or it's on sale, go nuts, I guess. But it's just so empty, so pointless. It is just bad and broken in so many basic ways, and it's not by any measure worth $12, or even really the $4 that I paid for it. I'm falling apart. I'm hitting everything in my room. That's what Popeye has done to me. Popeye for the Switch gets a 1 out of 10, and yeah, it's very bad. And like the title implies, it might be the worst game of 2021. I don't know if it's the worst game on the Switch. I mean, there's some bad games on the Switch, but yeah, anyway, just go watch Popeye cartoons. They're way better, even if they're a little bit dated. Just don't watch that one CGI DVD movie from the 2000s, Search for Pappy or whatever. That's a fever dream. Don't watch that.
Pluto, set a course for shipwreck rock in the Sea of Mystery.
But there are sirens and sea serpents and monsters there. It's the Sea Hag Realm.
I can't believe you believe them unbelievable stories, Pluto.